We never really did Dave Ramsey per se, but we were kind of doing the Dave Ramsey program in general, save up cash, live below your budget, and then slowly pay stuff off. And as we did that, I just felt like there had to be a better way. I don't want to work till I'm 65 and then retire with just enough to get by. So there's got to be something better. So at the beginning, you guys talked about how you can free up cash flow. And I was kind of skeptical because I was like, we don't have any cash flow to free up. We're already pretty tight on our budget. We're already pretty much on top of things. So you guys just opened our eyes up to stuff we'd never considered. We were really able to boost our cash flow with literally with no change to our monthly budget. One of your slogans is to go further, faster financially. And that definitely rings true. I mean, when we look back at the old way that we did it, the last 2.5 years probably would have produced maybe a $15,000 or $20,000 equity gain between paying stuff down and appreciation and whatnot. There's no way I ever would have imagined that in 2.5 years we were going to grow our equity position by $120,000 plus. If on day one you would have told me that these were going to be the final results, I wouldn't have thought that it was realistic.
All right, so I had a really interesting conversation a short while ago. I was actually referred to this gal who was boasting this coaching and mentorship partnership that she was wanting to sell me, and the price tag on it was a whopping $100,000. Now I've gotten to this stage now where, while that still terrifies me, I'm increasingly familiar with some of these mentorship programs, and I'm at a stage where I think I would really benefit from something like that. She came highly recommended. Now, the problem was when I sat with her on multiple occasions, virtually, this was over the phone and over Zoom, she really couldn't define for me what value proposition she was coming to the relationship with. I really didn't even have any particular specifics as to what I could expect if I paid her $100,000. There was no paperwork, no formalities. It seemed really pretty unprofessional. I think the biggest thing she kept touting was that she wanted me to come out to Florida with Kellyanne. She kept calling her my wife when she's actually my fiance. It seemed really impersonal. She's like, yeah, we'll ride around on the boat and have a great time on the beach. And I'm thinking, I can do that for a lot less than $100,000. So what I wanted to do is take a quick moment and just remind those of you who aren't familiar with our coaching and mentorship program about exactly what we bring to the table. We are specialists. We are niche. We are not the end-all be-all to your wealth creation. So I'm going to go through the list of our value propositions, which are spelled out and are in an agreement form. So you get it in writing. And we also offer a discount to our YouTube audience here. And then I also want to introduce a special guest today who's gone through each of these. And what I'm going to do, I think, is actually kind of toggle back and forth between each particular value that we're going to bring into the relationship and ask Adam whether or not he realized that during the last 2 years of him participating in our coaching. So the first and foremost thing that you have to understand is that we provide 12 months currently of unlimited phone-based coaching sessions, and we do that with me personally. So we've upgraded the accounts, we've enhanced this in order to give you even more value. We can only accept 15 total coaching members each month. We generally hit that number. We only have 4 left this month, and we likely won't have any available in the first portion of February. So we are very limited on what we can provide because we don't do group coaching, we don't do workshops, we don't sell a product or a course that we can bundle out and offer in bulk. This is very personal, and that's why people get such great results. So Adam, this is Adam Perigo. Very, very pleased to have you here on the channel. Thanks so much for coming on and sharing your experience.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So Adam is a recent graduate of the program, and I like bringing on graduates because it, is somebody that can actually speak to the comprehensiveness of the program. They've gone through the beginning, the middle, and the end, and they have sort of the list of results of either what they did get or what they were hoping to get and didn't. And the extended timelines are really all you can operate off of when you're talking about finances, because it takes time and it does require being patient. So based on your unlimited coaching sessions, Adam, let's kind of start with each bullet point at a time. Tell me a little bit about those calls. Obviously, you had to remain active in order to get the calls, right? So you went onto the calendar and scheduled each appointment based on the preferred date and time that you selected, right?
Yep. Yeah, no, the availability was great too. I never had any issues getting something that worked for my schedule or something on pretty short notice. It was never more than a week or so out. So that whole process was pretty easy. So.
And we never restricted you on how often and frequently you could get on the calendar, correct?
No, there was no restrictions at all. If anything, I could have utilized it more, but.
And I hear that quite often. I think sometimes we blink and 2 months goes by. It's easy for us to sort of, I think, not necessarily engage as much as we want to on objectives, but at least the availability was there for you. How about punctuality? How did you feel as far as our showing up as promised? Were we there on time? Did we ever waste your time? Tell me a little bit about that.
Oh, that part was great. It was pretty much understood that if we had an 11 a.m. appointment, my phone was ringing at exactly 11 a.m. I mean, it wasn't 10:59, it wasn't 11:01. It was literally exactly 11 a.m. So no issues there, which I appreciate. I'm a very punctual person. I don't like wasting time or sitting around. So I certainly appreciated that. I knew what to expect. It was spot on. Quite literally every appointment was to the minute. So
as far as professionalism, thoroughness of the conversations, did you feel like you were getting what you were coming into the phone call hoping for? Did you feel like you left each call with clear-cut instructions on what you should be doing between that conversation and your next meeting?
yeah, absolutely. And that was one of the best things about the call is Jesse was my coach, and Jesse didn't come into those calls with an agenda of what he wanted to talk about. He came into those calls to talk about what I wanted to talk about. So whatever it was that was on our horizon or that was going on in our lives, that was the topic of the calls. So it was, and I assume that's the way it is for everybody. Whatever route you want to go, there's 1,000 different options on how you. So whatever works for you, whatever whatever goals you have, that's what your calls are going to be centered around. So.
Great. So let's get into a bit of the meat and potatoes. I want to talk specifics here. Value proposition A, beyond unlimited phone calls during the membership term, is that we help people maintain excellent credit profiles on a perpetual level. We call that the 760 Club. That's something that we trademarked almost 20 years ago, and it's something that we take great pride in. How did you feel about attention to credit throughout the relationship?
It was definitely there. I think for us, that part wasn't a primary concern because our credit was excellent when we started. We were up over 800 for both myself and my wife when the program started. So it was more about maintaining that and managing that, and that was helpful too. There's a lot of times when we're looking at different debt weapons or what the next step is. And it was, you got to wait until months from your last credit before we do this next one. Some good tips on stuff like that, only to guide me through that process, but to provide that information for us so that we can utilize that in the future once the coaching's done and kind of understand those processes. So
I think that's a really great point. So while 760 is our target to work towards, once we're there, it's about preservation of great credit and maintaining it. Did you ever feel like your credit was either threatened or at risk because of the action steps that were provided to you?
Certainly not threatened or at risk. I mean, we did see some fluctuation. That's normal. Anytime you use your credit, it affects your credit. And we've certainly been using our credit pretty heavily over the last 2.5 years that we were in the coaching program. So we saw some dips. I saw mine, and I don't know what the exact scores were. We're going by Credit Karma, which isn't exact. But, we saw our scores go from 820 down to 770 or so, but then we see them rebound back up within a couple of months. So there's some fluctuation there, but it never dipped below that 760 and pretty consistently stayed over 800. So
great. So the next value prop that we provide is helping people continue identifying proper debt weapons and when to apply for them throughout the relationship. Tell me a little bit about your experience with debt weapon acquisitions over the time you were in coaching.
Yes, that was definitely something we concentrated on stuff in place when we started, just through what we've done in the past. We had some fairly substantial limits on credit cards and stuff that we were able to utilize. But really early on in the process, we were to take a dollar line of credit that is overdraft protected.
What was the dollar amount? I'm sorry, cut out. What was the dollar amount?
It was 500 when we started. It was just for overdraft protection. But we were able to increase that to 20,000 pretty early on. We were able to obtain an additional personal line of credit for another 20,000. We were able to utilize some funds to pay down our mortgage, where we were then able to go get a $70,000 line of credit put in place. So, and that was probably all within the first 6 to 8 months.
Wonderful. And all of those tools, to clarify for people who haven't benefited from them before, operate same as cash, right? It was total liquidity for you. You could use it for any reason whatsoever, correct?
Yep, absolutely. And we actually ended up using our HELOC to acquire our first rental property. So that's what we utilized for our down payment. So
I love it. And we actually are going to get to that here a little bit later in the list. So we help identify proper debt weapons, when to apply for them throughout the relationship. Alongside that is you know, kind of plugging leaks and steps that we can do to utilize your cash flow more strategically that for most people allows them to create huge cash flow improvements fairly early on. I couldn't help but notice analyzing early cash flow crunchers from you to the latest cash flow cruncher from you, you're at basically a 250% net cash flow position. Tell me a little bit about how you feel about the changes to your cash flow throughout the relationship.
That was one of the things that surprised me the most because we've always been very budget conscious. So at the beginning, you know, you guys talk about how you can free up cash flow, and I was kind of skeptical because I was like, we don't have any cash flow to free up. We're already pretty tight on our budget. We're already pretty much on top of things, but you guys just opened our eyes up to stuff we'd never considered. You know, I mean, there's different avenues that we took. We had some small debts that we were able to pay off. We were able to pretty quickly eliminate the PMI on our mortgage. We were able to make a substantial payment on our mortgage itself and then have the mortgage company recast our loan. So instead of refinancing, they recast, which saved us all the refi fees, but still significantly lowered our payment. So through just a variety of steps like that, we were really able to boost our cash flow with literally with no change to our monthly budget. So
amazing. So lifestyle was not restricted. This wasn't the old-fashioned Dave Ramsey approach to rice and beans. It was preserving lifestyle, but seeing much better results just by manipulating the ingredients that are there, right?
Yep, absolutely. And actually ours was almost the opposite because we got two kids that are growing, they're playing every activity at bowl, and we're traveling for sports. So our actual personal spending over the past 2.5 years has grown a fairly significant amount just to maintain, you know, our family structure. So even while our expenses have gone up, we've still been able to greatly increase our cash flow position. So
I'm loving it. So next value proposition inside our partnership agreements with our coaching members is to focus on debt weapon acquisition and utilization in order to advance income through business development, investing goals, and this includes short-term net cash flow as well as long-term net worth solutions. Obviously, this is where the much bigger results could happen. Again, if you don't mind, I'd love to point out an observation from your cash flow cruncher, Adam. What I noticed here was that you went from a net equity position in real estate when we began of roughly $18,484 versus the difference of our recent cash flow cruncher of $140,789 in net equity position. This is just one example of what we're talking about when we say using these debt weapon vehicles. And you alluded to the fact that you were able to buy an investment property by using a debt weapon itself as the down payment. So I think this all sort of strings together based on how your process went. Can you elaborate on any of that for me?
Yeah, I mean, certainly the debt weapons were a great help. You know, just opened our eyes to ways of doing things that we hadn't considered before. You know, I mean, one of your slogans is to go further, faster financially, and that definitely rings true. I mean, when we look back at the old way that we did it, the last 2.5 years probably would have produced, I don't know, maybe a $15,000 or $20,000 equity gain between paying stuff down and appreciation and whatnot. There's no way I ever would have imagined that in 2.5 years we were going to grow our equity position by $120,000 plus. So certainly results that I didn't think were probably possible. If on day one you would have told me that these were going to be the final results, I wouldn't have thought that it was realistic. There's no way I would have believed you. So
let's kind of backtrack our way back into that. What made you make the decision to move forward in spite of some of the skepticism? And at any point were you feeling like we were hard selling you and twisting your arm into this decision? Tell me a little bit about, if you're able to reflect back on when you originally decided to move forward with our program.
Yeah, so for years we never really did Dave Ramsey per se, but we were kind of doing the Dave Ramsey program in general, save up cash, live below your budget and then slowly pay stuff off. And as we did that, I always felt like there had to be a better way. Like I I don't want to work till I'm 65 and then retire with just enough to get by. So as I looked at that situation, it's like, there's got to be something better. So I just started doing some browsing and some research and stumbled across a couple programs that were interesting. None of them were quite a good fit. I did a couple free consultations with other companies to kind of start hearing some of their ideas, and none of it seemed like a great fit, but it did lead me to your guys' YouTube channel. And then the more that I dug into that, I kind of did what I hear you do on a lot of your calls, where I spent a lot of the time trying to shoot holes in it, trying to find, why should I not do this?
Yep. Search for the deal breaker.
Yep. And the more that I looked, we couldn't really find it. And there was some skepticism, but our big thing was, at the beginning, our number one goal was we wanted to get rid of our student loans. And when we talked about starting the coaching and the price of the coaching and doing it, what we decided was, even if all that this did was helped us pay off our student loans much quicker, that would be enough value right there to justify the cost of the program. So the price of the program put us at a point where we didn't need to see the results that we did to feel like there was value there. I mean, we could see pretty easily that there was going to be at least enough value to cover the cost of the program. And then, of course, once we got in, we recovered 20 times the cost of the program over just 2.5 years. So,
not a bad investment. And what happened with your student loans? Tell everybody what that ended up doing as far as results. Did you pay them off?
We didn't pay them off completely, just because we had other stuff come up, like acquiring the rental property and some other debts that had a better target rate, that we decided to target those first. But even without that, even without the student loans ever really becoming a priority for us, I think we started at, I wrote it down here, I think when we started the program, we owed about $47,000 in student loans. Now we're down to $22,500. So we paid off about $25,000 in student loans.
Over half of it in a 2.5-year period. You'd probably have those for decades if it wasn't for this.
And that was never even really something that we really focused on. I mean, that was always kind of secondary to other things we were doing, and we still made that much progress. So, and that is moving up the list of priorities. I would assume that final 22 and some change will wipe out here soon, or who knows, maybe Biden will wipe it out for us. So.
I love it. Well, you guys have done a great job. I want to emphasize quickly that the only reason that Adam and his family have been able to achieve these types of results is because, in order for us to succeed together, we have to have a commitment from your end as well, which includes being courageous, includes being consistent, and includes being patient. And these are 3 of the key ingredients to coachability in general. Without those 3 things, it's very easy for us, just through normal human nature, to get discouraged and to quit. I mean, think of weight loss as a great comparison. And this is one of those things that just doesn't happen overnight. You've got to be sticking with it. But knowing that these results are possible, and knowing that chances of you being alive in 5 years, 10 years, 15 or 20 years, when it still matters, putting in the action steps today and doing it each day, it's not that difficult. Wouldn't you agree, Adam? I mean, it hasn't been hard. It's just we want everything to always move faster. So impatience is normal. But wouldn't you agree it's been fairly straightforward, especially when just simply given instructions as to what to do?
Yeah, for the most part, there's been no individual portion of it that was difficult or that was anything that I didn't feel like I could do. It's just, you just got to do it. The individual steps aren't that tough. You just got to follow through. And one of the things over the same course of time that we've been coaching members, I've also been, kind of getting into bigger pockets in their community. And one of the things that they preach all the time is consistent daily action. And that's really the key to anything, is just to keep at it day after day. You're not going to see results tomorrow, but if you keep doing stuff tomorrow and the next day and the next day, you eventually will see results. And I say eventually, that's probably not even a fair word, because they come pretty quick. You don't have to sit here for the full 30 months and maybe at the end of our 30 months, something worked out. Like, there was definitely incremental progress that was measurable and you could see it. So, and it's easier to move on to the next step when you saw all the progress from the previous steps. So.
Well, I think Adam hit really the nail on the head when talking about his ROI being 20 some odd times. And I know he's just sort of estimating on that, but return on investment is really what matters. It matters far more so than the actual cost of things. But I love transparency when it comes to price tags. And as a consumer, I hate when businesses dance around what their costs are. Typically, we charge $11,670 for that 12-month membership term. And we discount that $11,670 down for our YouTube and referral audiences only, knocking the price tag down by $4,700 to a $6,970 price. That's for our full paying coaching members. There is a monthly payment option that comes out to be almost $2,000 more expensive. So we certainly don't recommend it to those who can't afford what we're doing. If you can't afford it, you're probably not a great candidate anyway. The best way to get going is to actually claim one of those discounted quick start vacancies from the VIPfinancialeducation.com website. That'll give you the best price tag that we offer. You'll then be put on my calendar personally, where we'll go through a 1-hour intensive assessment conversation together. That assessment conversation is one where we say, look, this program is not a good fit for most people. I like to be very upfront about that. If I'm only taking 15 members a month, I want the best candidates. The best candidates means that it pays off for both of us versus me taking marginal candidates that may only get mediocre results and then aren't necessarily as thrilled about what we've done together as somebody that was a much better candidate. It's reputation preservation. It's a technique that we've managed for many, many years now. And that's why when you look us up online, Better Business Bureau gives us an A+ rating. We have hundreds of 5-star plus ratings. People just singing our praises, with only a small single-digit handful of people who have expressed any level of disappointment. And we tried to make it right. In fact, we stand behind you guys. That's one of the biggest reasons that we want to make sure you're a good fit, is because we offer something that I've never seen any other business like this provide, which is what we call a can't lose coaching guarantee. And essentially what that means is, for all Quick Start Platinum members, we back it up by what we think is the simplest guarantee in order to provide maximum peace of mind for people. And it essentially states that if you're not fully satisfied within that 12-month Platinum membership, you simply let us know what you thought it was worth, and we'll refund the difference. That, to me, is putting your money where your mouth is. I don't get refund requests, folks. And the people that have expressed disappointment online, we went back to them and said, hey, what can we do to make this right, including but not limited to refunding money? And that has not, we never even hear back. What does that tell you? I don't know if those people are real. They're not using real names, people that are in our system. So ultimately, we work at every angle to deliver what we promise we're going to. And Adam, I really appreciate you sharing your firsthand experience of that. We're here for you guys if you need anything else as you get further and further into your financial wealth creation planning, and you want another go at extra sets of eyes on your decision making. We'd be happy to honor that discounted graduate membership price tag for you guys as well. But otherwise, you've done a fantastic job. I couldn't be more proud. And thank you again for your willingness to come on and be so open about it.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
So I'll let you get back to your day. Guys, appreciate everybody tuning into this video. Until we see you on the next one, make it a great day, and most importantly, keep on cash flow.